Nous retrouvons sans plus tarder bien Priscilla Sadien, Jagdish Joypol. Je vous remercie en tous les cas. C'est ainsi que se termine votre émission Encore Plus. Bonjour Priscilla, bonjour Jagdish.
Bonjour Caroline, bonjour à tous. Merci, vous pouvez rejoindre nous pour suivre la séance de la PNQ à l'Assemblée nationale en direct au Radio Plus, mais aussi en direct au défimédia.info. Jagdish Joypol, bonjour.
Bonjour Priscilla, Caroline, bonjour auditeurs et internautes, bonjour également.
Alors la PNQ du leader de l'opposition ce matin adressée au Premier ministre, Xavier Duval, Jagdish Deman, Pravin Jugnut, suite à ban troubles sociaux qui fin arrivé la semaine dernière, qui ban mesures urgentes et immédiates gouvernement fin prend pour répondre à doléances de la population.
Alors l'idée nécessaire nous faire une mise en contexte, c'est-à-dire un état des faits de la situation par rapport à sa question qui Xavier Duval peut poser. D'abord, il y a deux déclarations du Premier ministre Pravin Jugnut qui liées avec les incidents qui fin arrivé dans le pays et donc la semaine dernière. Ça événement-là fin commencer dans Camp-le-Vieux d'abord, et là surtout pour un internaute qui est à l'étranger et qui peut suivre nous. Nous connaissons beaucoup en Australie qui suivent nous. Donc un événement, un incident, affrontement, et dans Camp-le-Vieux d'abord, mardi, mercredi, finina deux arrestations, et finina une dégénérescence, tout cas pas dire, donc une situation très instable, vendredi, devant Caserne Centrale, qui est le symbole même de la sécurité du pays, et finina un flaring up, comment le dire, donc ça fait une fanée un petit peu partout dans certaines régions. Et là, deux déclarations qui Pravin Jugnut fait, une tout de suite, vendredi, avant les incidents du soir, à MBC.
En direct de l'Inde.
En direct de l'Inde, quand il dresse un parallèle avec les événements de 1999, c'est-à-dire après la mort de Kaya. Ensuite, à son retour dimanche, il fait une deuxième déclaration, donc un peu ton plus conciliant, alors que vendredi c'était la fermeté, et il rappelle à la population une mesure que le gouvernement il prend en faveur des plus démunis, des défavorisés, au niveau augmentation de salaire, de pension. Alors la ligne nécessaire pour cela, avec la réponse qui Pravin Jugnut pour donner, nous analyse ce qu'il nous appelle, c'est-à-dire sous disposition, ce qu'il nous appelle le body language. Est-ce qu'il peut adopter une fermeté également contre sa bande qui organise, c'est-à-dire les incidents, est-ce qu'il nous finit dans une organisation, ou bien il peut reconnaître c'est une colère populaire, besoin donc revoir, répondre, et ce que Xavier Duval peut demander, donc à une mesure urgente que le gouvernement pour prendre. Donc le body language est important, alors nous besoin situer nous donc dans le contexte actuel, comment le gouvernement pourrait agir avec, c'est-à-dire vis-à-vis des affrontements qui finissent calmer. Nous vous rappelle depuis vendredi soir et très tôt samedi matin, puis il n'y a aucun incident, mais la population peut demander une baisse de prix, surtout le coût de la vie qui est derrière ça affrontement-là, derrière ça soulèvement, la colère populaire, et après augmentation prix gaz, prix d'environ 33%, et prix l'essence et mazout d'environ 10%.
En tout cas, à suivre l'attitude et le ton de Pravin Jugnut lors de cette PNQ. En tout cas, ça promet Jagdish. Et nous connaissons aussi que Xavier Duval dépose une motion de blâme contre le gouvernement à l'Assemblée nationale. L'idée que c'est une mesure très rare qui est utilisée dans des circonstances exceptionnelles. L'objectif, l'idée, c'est faire le gouvernement renverse ce ban de décision, régler ce ban de priorité et prendre une mesure urgente et importante pour aider la population.
Oui, motion de blâme lui fait partie de la tradition parlementaire, mais seulement pénalise très souvent. Finina, motion de blâme contre Speaker, Mme Anoumandji, finina, motion de blâme de Prem Singh dans le passé contre le gouvernement, finina, motion de blâme en 1979 de Saniro Jugnut contre le gouvernement travailliste PMSD, mais généralement, tout ça, une motion de blâme-là, est rejetée aussi longtemps que le gouvernement ait une majorité pour voter. Qui fait les rejeter parce qu'il y a dans le gouvernement, un député qui là, je pas intéressé poil organise l'élection générale quand il a encore 2 ans et demi, capable de continuer le mandat, non plus possiblement dans l'opposition, il y a un député qui prend envie à l'élection alors qu'il a dans une situation confortable. Alors donc, mais si le Premier ministre perdit la majorité dans le Parlement, l'eau une motion de blâme, à ce moment, le gouvernement tombait.
Alors, nous parlons en direction de l'Assemblée nationale dans une poignée de secondes. Et puis, Jagdish, lors de la PNQ, il y a plusieurs questions qui retenaient l'attention. Parmi celles de la députée du Parti travailliste, Stéphanie Anctil, lors suspension d'un journaliste de la MBC en décembre.
Oui, il y a 17 questions qui sont adressées au Premier ministre. Donc, la journaliste en question, Manisha Duty, Senior News Editor, donc il fait une suspendre en décembre de ses fonctions. Alors, et pour qui raison? C'est là la question de la députée Stéphanie Anctil. Pour qui raison il fait une suspendre et qui bonne disposition peut prendre pour sa réintégration?
Et nous allons tout de suite en direction de l'Assemblée nationale.
Announcements none. Papers have been laid. Questions?
Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, my question is addressed to the Honourable Prime Minister. Whether in regard to the social disturbances which occurred over the last week, he will state the urgent and immediate actions government has taken to address the grievances of the population.
Mr. Speaker, sir, the leader of the opposition is insinuating that government has been insensitive to the grievances of the population. Nothing can be further from the truth. Never before 2014 has any government done concretely so much to fight poverty and improve the standard of living of the population, particularly the most vulnerable. Fairness, equity, and inclusiveness have remained the guiding principles of all our actions. Let me mention some of the measures taken by the government since December 2014. Increase in basic retirement pension from 3,623 rupees to 9,000 rupees. Increase in other basic pensions, including invalidity pension. Introduction of the subsistence allowance scheme, whereby a subsistence allowance is paid on a monthly basis to families living in absolute poverty. Grant of full yearly salary compensations from 2015 to 2022. Payment of PRB 2016 and PRB 2021. Free travel scheme for seniors and students maintained. Subsidy on SC and HSE fees. Free tertiary education in public institutions. Subsidy on purchase of water tanks. 6 meter cube of water and wastewater charges free. Increased subsidies on rice, flour, and LPG. The grand total of measures for period December 2014 to June 2020 amounted to 112 billion rupees. This represented unprecedented additional revenue given to Mauritian households. Mr. Speaker, sir, additionally, the following measures were introduced. Implementation of the Marshall Plan against poverty as from financial year 2016-2017. Additional support to SRM families in the field of education to the tune of 250 million rupees every financial year. For the current financial year, a provision of 416.3 million rupees has been provided in the budget of the Social Integration Division. From December 2016 to date, funds to the tune of some 400 million rupees have been disbursed under the Child Allowance Scheme. Distribution of food packs during COVID-19 lockdown. Introduction of Wage Assistance Scheme, self-employed assistance scheme, and self-employed one-off grant. So far, under these schemes, some 27 billion rupees has been disbursed. Setting up of the COVID-19 Solidarity Fund, SME interest-free loan from DBM to help enterprises with turnover of up to 50 million rupees. 1 million rupee SME COVID special support scheme at an interest rate of 0.5%. Mr. Speaker, sir, I must say that the evolution of the international situation and of the increase in prices of the different food commodities and petroleum products was under the constant observation and monitoring of the government. Government, through the Ministry of Commerce and Consumer Protection, was in close collaboration with all the major importers and the Mauritius Chamber of Commerce and Industry. I need to highlight that up to now, the priority of priorities was to ensure continuity of supply in the face of a major disruption in the global supply chain with two major crises, that is, the food crisis and energy crisis. That was the most undesirable situation against which government had a responsibility to act. 4 meetings have been held on 21st, 22nd March, 20th of April, and 21st of April 2022, in order to ensure that future orders were placed beyond May and June 2022. Mr. Speaker, sir, as the House is aware, the liquefied petroleum gas is a strategic commodity which is solely imported by the State Trading Corporation. Currently, the yearly requirement is around 78,000 metric tons. Domestic LPG is a product that is widely consumed by all segments of the population and has replaced traditional methods of cooking. We have always been conscious of the need for LPG to remain affordable at all times, and it is under the vision of Sir Anirudh Jagannath in 2003 that the policy to subsidize the price of LPG was introduced. At that time, the subsidized retail price of 12 kg cylinder was 224 rupees. Mr. Speaker, sir, between February 2004 and February 2012, the subsidized retail price of a 12 kg cylinder has always fluctuated within a bracket of 214 rupees to 300 rupees. In March 2012, it reached an unprecedented peak of 330 rupees for a 12 kg cylinder. The sudden increase to 330 rupees may have been dictated by market considerations and by international economic factors. However, at that time, the purchasing price of a 12 kg cylinder on the international market was less than 600 rupees, whereas today we are purchasing at 662 rupees and consumers are buying at a retail price of 240 rupees. When the situation started to stabilize on the international scene and the financial situation of the STC started to improve, this government decided to bring down the price of a 12 kg cylinder to 270 rupees in August 2016, 240 rupees in June 2018, 210 rupees in June 2019, and 180 rupees in June 2020. However, while Mauritius is still recovering from the COVID-19 pandemic, the invasion of Ukraine by Russia brought about a double supply-driven shock. As a small island developing state with a small economy, far away from traditional markets, Mauritius is even more vulnerable. No one can deny that the Russia-Ukraine conflict has had a profound impact on prices of petroleum products, including LPG, as a derivative of petroleum products. Russia used to export around 6.5 million barrels of Brent per day during the pre-war situation and accounted for 17% of natural gas production during the same period. Crude oil prices rose significantly in 2021 as demand increased faster than supply. Mr. Speaker, sir, immediately after the invasion of Ukraine by Russia, the price of Brent on the international market started escalating to reach unprecedented heights in the first weeks of March 2022, resulting in the petroleum hub market becoming highly volatile and unpredictable. If the current situation persists, it will be inevitable that on the world market, the demand will remain persistently higher than the supply. Consequently, it is not excluded that countries which do not have a robust and sustained procurement and supply program may face the risk of shortage or scarcity of petroleum products, including LPG. Mr. Speaker, sir, as a caring and responsible government, and in order to ensure continuity of supply and prevent any possible shortage, while allowing the public to access LPG at an affordable price, government has had no alternative than to intervene at the appropriate time in order to avoid future problems. In fact, to put matters in their proper perspective, this government has not deliberately increased the price of LPG, but has simply reduced the subsidy element by a mere 9.1%. Consequently, out of a 12 kg cylinder which the STC purchases at 661 rupees and 49 cents, the subsidized retail price is 240 rupees as opposed to 180 rupees. Mr. Speaker, sir, as regard the recent increase in the price of mogas and gas oil, I am informed that the new reference price of mogas is $1,065.54 US per metric ton, while the exchange rate stood at 43 rupees 50 cents against the USD. Economically speaking, the retail price of mogas should have been increased by 73.93 rupees per litre. That is by 12.63% per litre, which would have meant an increase by 12 rupees 63, per litre, which would have meant an increase of 20.6%. On the other hand, the new reference price of gas oil is $138.12 US, and the new price should have been 66 rupees 90 cents per litre. That is an increase of 21 rupees 80 per litre, representing 48.34%. However, as provided under the Consumer Protection, Control of Price of Petroleum Products Regulations 2011, only a maximum increase of 10% is allowed. Therefore, the retail price of mogas has been increased by 6 rupees 10 and gas oil by 4 rupees 50, which represent an increase of 9.95% and 9.98% respectively. Mr. Speaker, sir, in regard to the price of rice, the actual price of long-grain white rice, commonly known as duration, is 10 rupees 80 per kilo and absorbs a total annual subsidy of around 354 million rupees. 1 kg of long-grain white rice costs the STC 25 rupees 80. The government therefore subsidizes around 15 rupees per kilo, which implies that a subsidy of around 58% is provided to consumers. Mr. Speaker, sir, we are conscious of the increasing cost of living, which is a direct result of rising international prices. Nonetheless, as a caring government, so far, we have ensured that the basic necessities are offered at an affordable price. In this respect, government has maintained the price of the scheduled bread, commonly referred to as pain maison, at ₹2.60. Mr. Speaker, sir, regarding flour, the maximum price of white flour sold to consumers is ₹9.70 per kilo, while the subsidized price at which flour is sold to bakeries is ₹6.22 per kilo. Bakers have been offered flour at a cheaper rate in order to be able to maintain the price of pain maison at ₹2.60. The total amount of subsidy on flour is estimated at around ₹1.4 billion for the year 2022. As regards other essential commodities, government has provided subsidies to the tune of ₹1.2 billion to maintain prices at affordable levels. Mr. Speaker, sir, coming again to the assertion of the Leader of the Opposition as to the alleged inaction of government, I wish to say that as a result of a consultation with importers and the MCCI, the following measures have been taken and are underway. The current price of and subsidy on food items under control is being reviewed to further protect consumers. The markup on 15 most consumed drugs in Mauritius is being reviewed downwards in order to allow these medicines to be affordable to the public. A ministerial committee has been set up to look into additional measures to further support the population. And the subsidy is being increased on long grain white rice and flour to maintain them at their current price in spite of the massive increase in the prices worldwide. Mr. Speaker, sir, as the House is aware, there have been recently some sporadic incidents in certain localities. During these incidents, police stations and police vehicles have been attacked by cocktail molotovs, and certain public infrastructure have been damaged, including police officers who have been attacked. Moreover, stones and other projectiles have been hurled at police officers, and 21 of them and one firefighter have suffered serious injury. 2 other persons were also injured. 3 rioters have so far been arrested. Mr. Speaker, sir, I wish to inform the House that the use of force and firearms by the police has been in strict compliance with standing operating procedures and legal framework in order to protect the population. Mr. Speaker, sir, the history of every country in the world is studied with ups and downs, with moments of great momentum, as well as with moments of strife and tension, deliberately engineered by lawless and unpatriotic demolition experts, recklessly bent on creating havoc and at destabilizing the country and the population. Fortunately, the wisdom of the vast majority of the population contains and holds sway over them and over irresponsible persons, particularly inconsiderate politicians inciting them towards anarchy. While it is a fact that the difficulties of the whole population, particularly of our citizens in the lowest rung of the economic ladder, are real, these difficulties cannot and should not and never be expressed through violence of any kind and nature. Instead, meaningful and purposeful dialogue with all our social partners, including the National Social Inclusion Foundations, which has a permanent contact with over 250 NGOs, and peaceful representation should at all times be resorted to. Mr. Speaker, sir, I appeal to all our citizens to display their sense of responsibility and to guard themselves against demagogues bent on poisoning their minds and utilizing them as their tools of destruction. Thank you.
Speaker, firstly, given the length of the answer of the Prime Minister, I hope that you will give extra time for the questions. Mr. Speaker, the Ukraine crisis, war, the rupee depreciation have led families, Mr. Speaker, today as we speak, having to change their eating habits, not able to buy medicine. Children are going without basic necessities. Why is it, Mr. Speaker, that whatever action the Prime Minister is announcing seems like too little, too late?
Mr. Speaker, sir, I hope that the Honourable Leader of the Opposition is not wearing blinkers and he sees what is happening to the world. It is not only Mauritius that is facing this double crisis. Not only the region, but the whole world is facing a double crisis of COVID and now this war in Ukraine. And I can cite a number of international institutions which have already made observations on, I say, on many issues, but particularly on the rise of prices of basic commodities. I don't need to quote the World Bank, the International Monetary Fund, but let me quote the FAO, what it has said in the report, recent report. The FAO Food Price Index makes a giant leap to another all-time high in March. The FAO Food Price Index averaged 159.3 points in March 2022, up 17.9 points from February to March, making a giant leap to a new highest level since its inception in 1990. The latest increase reflects new all-time heights for vegetable oils, cereals, and meat sub-indices, while others like sugar, dairy products also rose significantly. I can go on, and I will recommend that the Honourable Leader of the Opposition, he reads this report, which has been published on the 10th of March, 2022.
Speaker, may I recommend the Prime Minister to do two things. One, look at the vicious devaluation of the rupee that has been happening under his watch. And secondly, the Prime Minister has carefully avoided telling the population why it is that you buy petrol, which has a cascading effect on oil prices. At 37 rupees, you tax 30 rupees, and you sell the petrol, the mogas, at 67 rupees, whilst every other country in the world has been reducing taxes. You have been increasing taxes on petrol these last few weeks.
It is not correct. It is the Speaker, sir. You want to interrupt my answer? I allowed you to put your question without being interrupted. Will you allow me to answer? Unless you don't want to hear the truth. You're talking about depreciation of the rupee. Yes, I think the PNQ was addressed to my colleague, Minister of Finance, who had replied. But let's look at the other currencies. Depreciation of currencies vis-à-vis the US dollar since the start of the Russia-Ukraine conflict. Australian dollar has been depreciating by 3.86%. New Zealand dollar, 4.67%. The euro against the dollar. The British pound against the dollar. The South African rand. So, again, I say, it is not as if only Mauritius is being affected. The whole world is being affected. And I must also say that, look, when we look at inflation, prices are going up. Worldwide, Mr. Speaker, sir. If we look at the let's say, the stronger economies, if I can call that. Belgium, what is forecast for 2022? Inflation rate of 8%. 8%. Estonia, 11.9%. Estonia. Hungary, 10.3%. You have Poland, 8.9%. And in Africa, Botswana, 8.9%. Ghana, 16.3%. Rwanda, we are being regularly compared to Rwanda, 8.8%. And what is forecast for Mauritius? Inflation of 8.4%. So, as I say, Mr. Speaker, sir, unfortunately...
Wait.
Unfortunately...
If you want a reply, Honourable Leader of the Opposition, it's not only questions that are important.
So
the purpose of questions is to have replies.
He wants to put
Order.
the question, he wants to reply.
Order.
So, Mr. So, Mr. Speaker, sir, I again repeat, and people now have access to information. They know what is happening worldwide. And it is, I must say, very unfortunate that since the beginning of our mandate in 2019, we are facing the COVID crisis. We are facing this war in Ukraine, which is causing a total disruption in the supply chain of basic commodities and petroleum products. But then, of course, we have to see to it in what way we can mitigate the effect of those measures, of those rises in prices on our population.
The Speaker, is shocking to find that the Prime Minister doesn't know that inflation is already at 10.7%. The official rate published by Statistics Mauritius, they're already like this. And it is, in fact, of course, because of the vicious depreciation of the rupee. The Prime Minister doesn't know either, does he know either that VAT charged on petrol has increased 3 rupees since election on every litre, whilst every other country is reducing? Can I ask the Prime Minister whether this is not the truth, that billions upon billions of rupees have been dilapidated by this government on BAI, 20 billion, on Betamax, 6 billion, on the stadium that nobody uses, 5 billion, on Safe City, 18 billion, on the mismanagement of Air Mauritius, 23 billion, on Liverpool, 400 billion, on Splashgate, 380 million, on Molnupiravir, 70 million.
I'm stopping you there. It's too long a list. You put your question.
I'm going to ask the Prime Minister now whether it is not time for him to abandon these white elephant projects, the national identity card, 230 million, the passport, e-passport, 500 million, even the renovation of the State House, 274 million. I am sure the President will not mind if it is postponed and the money put to support families in Mauritius.
The Leader of the Opposition can mention any list he wants. I can answer him on every project that this government has undertaken. Every project. He has the cheek to talk about the Côte d'Or Stadium. That was started before the COVID pandemic faced to Mauritius.
No, this is unbecoming, this kind of laughter.
Ha ha ha.
Listen to your reply.
Ha ha ha. You can...
Toi qui faisais la manière.
Ouais.
Toi qui faisais la manière. You should show manners. You don't have the floor.
Mr. Speaker, sir. Mr. Speaker, sir, when the Indian Ocean Island Games were held, this is the same ha-ha-ha who came and watched the different items, the different sporting events at the Côte d'Or Stadium and applauded our sportsmen. So, and I can go on for the other projects also. Now, the Leader of the Opposition, the way he's talking as if we should stop everything. Life should stop now because we are facing double crisis, prices are increasing, we should stop all projects. The development program of government should stop. And then there have been projects which have started even much before. Contracts have been awarded. Now, what do? He's talking about all those projects. We just inform, we just give a notice to those contractors that we are going to stop those projects. How many billions of rupees do we have to pay in damages? Mr. Speaker, sir, this is not only the irresponsible reaction of the leader of the opposition.
Order.
He has no idea about the legal issues that will arise if we stop certain projects that are ongoing. We will be in breach of contract, we will be taken to court, and government will have to pay billions of rupees in terms of damages. So he should stop that kind of demagogy.
Be very happy today that the Prime Minister is assuming full responsibility for the full list of dilapidation of funds that I have just announced. I am so happy about it. Mr. Speaker, now, I want to ask the Prime Minister, the CSG has started to be charged on the population in Mauritius since September 2020. The old age pensioners have not seen a cent of increase in their pensions. So I'm going to ask the Prime Minister to do the decent thing immediately and increase pensions for old age pensioners, handicapped, and all that sort of people.
First of all, I want to take exception to the demagogical comments of the leader of the opposition to say that we are squandering public funds. And secondly, he is the last one to be giving us lessons on pension. He's the last one.
Order.
Because he was in a government, he was in a previous government, and he knows what was the kind of increases that were given to people of old age people for their basic retirement pension. It is this government who has increased substantially the old age pension of our people.
Remind the Prime Minister that the 2014 manifesto was written by Nando Buddha and myself, and he didn't care. He didn't care. He didn't even care about the pension increase. Mr. Speaker, it was us who did it.
Order.
Mr. Speaker,
Order.
the private sector. Come on. I know it hurts. I know it hurts. I know it
Order
hurts.
on both sides of the House, order. Both sides of the House, order. There is only one chair.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I can feel that they are hurting. Mr. Speaker, coming now to salary compensation, even Business Mauritius, up in their tower, have realized that the situation is dramatic for families, and they're suggesting that employees give food vouchers. But we don't want people to beg their employers. We want government to come with a decent salary compensation immediately, Mr. Speaker, immediately.
What is it? You made a statement. You continue. Leader of the opposition
Immediate-
is continuing with his demagogy.
Immediate salary
What? You put a question. Now, let me answer.
Now, Leader of the Opposition, time is over. I'm allowing you extra time, but you don't know how to manage your time. Allow the reply.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I want to come back to one comment that the leader of the opposition has made with regard to the price of mogas and gas oil. Is he aware that yes, I agree, there are different taxes that have been imposed on.
There would be no extra time.
These taxes, Mr. Speaker, sir, let me just briefly, I just mention that one tax is for the contribution to the Road Development Authority, amongst others to compensate bus companies for increases in diesel prices and increases in wages and salaries of their employees. There is another tax for contribution to Rodrigues Transportation and Storage, which is to subsidize the cost involved in transporting storing, distributing petroleum products, ration rice and flour supplied by the STC, so that the retail prices in Rodrigues are kept at par with their retail prices prevailing in Mauritius. There's another tax for contribution to subsidy on LPG, flour and rice. And there is also a tax for COVID-19 Solidarity Fund to finance programs and schemes related to COVID-19, and then a contribution to finance the cost of COVID-19 vaccines. There is also another contribution for the construction and storage facilities of petroleum products. I won't go into the detail of that because we know in what situation we were, and that is why the government has a vision to see to it that we have adequate storage capacity in order that we are not short of supply. So these are the reasons why we have maintained those contributions.
Time over by 5 minutes already.
Voilà donc pour cette PNQ de Xavier Duval adressée au Premier ministre. Alors, Pravin Jugnut qui fin répond à Xavier Duval, dit qu'il est insinué qu'il gouvernement insensible, alors qu'il jamais pas fini autant mesures qui finissent prendre depuis 2014. Alors,
dans l'intérêt de la population et des défavorisés de la société, oui.
Tout à fait. Donc, alors, parmi les fins revines, l'eau, augmentation pension pour les invalides aussi, subsistence allowance à les familles vulnérables, subside l'eau frais d'examen SI et HSI, subside l'eau diri et la farine et que gaz, l'idée que tout ça là fait 112 milliards de roupies. Les fins reviennent aussi, le ban food packs qui fin distribué pendant le lockdown, self-employed assistance scheme, wage assistance scheme qui arrive à 27 milliards de roupies. Jagdish. Oui. Alors, les fins cause aussi le SMI COVID support scheme, l'idée que l'évolution de la situation au plan international, tu peux monitorer de près par le gouvernement. L'idée que la priorité, c'était continuer la distribution de tout ben produit avec une menace de crise alimentaire. L'idée qu'il finit 4 réunions pour assurer donc qui continue donc assurer ben commande. Et les fins aussi révèlent la politique pour donner subside. L'idée qui ça remonte à l'époque de Saint-Héro Jugnut, l'idée qui prix gaz fin impacté par la situation au marché international. Alors, donc, Pravin Jugnut a fin aussi dire que l'invasion de la Russie en Ukraine fin faire que la situation fin détériorée et Maurice est en situation de vulnérabilité. Il disait que le prix pétrole fin continuer à augmenter et comme un gouvernement responsable, Pravin Jugnut a dit qu'il patina l'autre choix qui intervenir, il dit qu'en fait fin réduire subside le gaz. L'idée qui prix l'essence Tibisa augmenté davantage. Toutefois, c'est une augmentation de 10% qui fin ENA.
Au lieu de 20%, pas ici là.
Au lieu de 20%.
D'après Pravin Jugnut, il est capable de monter par 20,6%. Oui.
Et puis l'idée aussi, donc, par rapport à diriration, l'idée qui coûte 10 roupies et STC ça à 25 roupies 80
le
kilo, donc une subvention de 15 roupies. Alors, pour revenir à la question de subside, la farine, l'idée qu'il est estimé à 1,4 milliard de roupies pour 2022. Et puis, l'idée aussi qu'il fait maintenir prix du pain à 2 roupies 60 du pain maison. Et après consultation, Jagdish, ça c'est l'information qui est ressortie de sa PNQ là. Donc, après consultation avec ban importateur, l'idée qui pour revoir structure de ban prix, il y a un comité qui fait mettre des bouts et pour revoir aussi par rapport à prix certains médicaments. Et puis, concernant la réponse, ou plutôt la réplique de Xavier Duval, pour Xavier Duval, il peut dire que c'est too little, too late. Et Pravin Jagnat fin dire qu'il est souhaité qu'ils avaient Duval pas mettre blinkers et qu'il ait réalisé c'est pas Zis Maurice qui fait face à sa double crise là. Les fins donc appuient ce argument là un rapport FAO donc pour donner une indication de la situation au plan international. Et Xavier Duval fin dire qu'il y a trop beaucoup de taxes le produit pétrolier. Un petit peu plus tard, Pravin Jagnat a fin donne une explication l'eau ça ban taxe là entre autres les fins cause le vaccin pour Covid-19 peut-être vous revenez là tout à l'heure Jagdish.
Oui.
Et puis par rapport à l'inflation, Pravin Jagnat peut dire qui peut prévoir l'inflation pour Maurice à 8,4%, mais Xavier Duval dit que l'inflation est déjà à 10%. Et puis Xavier Duval revient l'auban projet d'investissement qui, selon lui, capable d'abandonner. Mais Pravin Jagnat dit qu'il est pour capable de retrouver avec un problème légal, donc pour breach of contract, donc rupture de contrat. Et puis, en ce qui concerne l'augmentation pension, Xavier Duval peut faire, peut demander. Pravin Jagnat peut dire qu'il n'a aucune leçon pour retenir, pour prendre de Xavier Duval sa question-là. Et finalement, la réplique de Xavier Duval qui dit que c'est Nande Bouddha et lui-même qui fait en 2014 qui fait le manifeste électoral, il dit que ça fait du mal. Et voilà donc, Jagdish, peut-être quelques points essentiels qui vous voudrais revenir.
Oui, alors, c'est-à-dire dans la forme, le Premier ministre, le gouvernement peut montrer une continuité, donc il a dans ce plan, dans cette action en faveur ban qui plus faible et également pour sécuriser la population au niveau d'approvisionnement de ban produits. Alors donc, c'est-à-dire lui montrer que depuis 2014, sa continuité-là, il peut poursuivre et là, finalement, une série que vous finissez citer pour cela, de sa mesure qui prend et qui allent dans direction pour améliorer les conditions de vie. Il fait également mention, référence au plan Marshall, le Marshall Plan, qui est un plan en faveur, c'est-à-dire contre la pauvreté, après qu'il finit un recensement du nombre de pauvres, de bonne misère dans le pays. Alors qu'Xavier Duval, lit ce côté, il peut montrer que c'est bon, oui, il reconnaît quand même ma décision qu'il prend, mais c'est le présent qui est plus important pour lui. C'est maintenant qu'il a besoin de guetter qui a une mesure corrective besoin introduire pour favoriser donc une situation moins tendue dans la population. Et là, il propose 3 mesures. Une augmentation de la pension. Il demande une révision de salaire parce qu'il dit que même Business Mauritius peut reconnaître qu'ils ont dit situation n'est pas très favorable pour les travailleurs et une compensation salariale immédiate donc pour capable permettre à la population de faire face au coût de la vie, à l'augmentation des prix. Pour Xavier Duval, c'est la dépréciation de la roupie qui surtout la cause principale de sa situation-là, alors qu'il Pravin Jagnat peut dire, il fait référence à la FAO, c'est-à-dire montrer qu'il y a un danger d'augmentation de prix qui peut continuer au niveau des denrées alimentaires. Il fait mention de la Banque mondiale, du Fonds monétaire international, pour dire que toute sa institution internationale-là peut faire référence à la crise mondiale, c'est-à-dire difficultés qui ban pays peut faire face pour capable donc c'est-à-dire et pour capable sécuriser cette population. Il mentionne certains pays de l'Europe de l'Est, également de la Belgique au niveau de l'inflation. Et Pravin Jagnat, il mentionne 8,4% le taux d'inflation actuellement à Maurice, mais Xavier Duval, il fait référence au Bureau des statistiques Mauritius, oui, en effet, qui cite l'inflation, le taux à 10,7% actuellement. Maintenant, Xavier Duval, il mentionne également, Priscilla, un projet qui est capable, donc pas abandonner, mais qui est capable de retenir pour l'instant, après que le gouvernement, il dépense beaucoup casse avec démantèlement BAI, il cause 21 milliards de roupies, environ 6 milliards qu'il dépensait avec Betamax, il cause le stade de Côte d'Or. Alors, pour lui, c'est un éléphant blanc. Safe City Project, 400 millions de roupies qu'il a dépensé pour faire la publicité au stade de Liverpool. Et là, l'IPJ a un nouveau projet qui peut venir, NIC Card, e-passport, 500 millions de roupies, State House rénovation, 274 millions de roupies. Alors, donc, pour lui, capable de bloquer ce projet-là pour l'instant et veiller qu'il l'argent les redistribuer sur le plan social. Mais Pravin Jagnat peut dire, ban contrat est déjà alloué, on fait mention de ça après cela. Alors tout ça, ban projet-là, pour le pays pas arrêté avec la crise, le monde pas capable d'arrêter, bizarre aller de l'avant avec ban projet et donc ban contact est fini établi. Sinon le gouvernement, s'il y a une rupture de contrat, pour bizarre aller payer dommage, pour une ban legal issues, si jamais pour arrêter, donc bizarre continuer aller de l'avant dans le développement du pays. Alors là, le Premier ministre n'a pas fait de répondre concernant les 3 demandes, s'il poil de l'avant, concernant la pension, la compensation salariale, la révision des salaires minimums. Donc voilà continuité actuellement pour cela avec cette PNQ. Les deux côtés de la Chambre et le gouvernement peuvent maintenir qu'il y en a un plan, il y a de l'avant avec le plan, mais il peut subir le coup sur le plan international, alors que l'opposition peut servir ça comme une capitale politique surtout, alors pour marquer ban point et faire ban demande qui a, c'est vrai, dans la direction d'un soulagement sur le plan social.
Alors, Pravin Jagnat Jagdish finit aussi révine l'urban incident de vendredi dernier. Côté dire qu'il y a 21 policiers qui finissent blessés, un pompier, 3 manifestants, il dit qui finissent là aussi 3 arrestations. Et encore une fois, il finit qu'il finit là une organisation délibérée, donc pour reprendre ce mot.
Oui, ça l'aspect là, donc si sur le plan social, sur le plan économique, et c'est le Premier ministre il répond à une question dans cette direction, dans cette langue qu'il a besoin, c'est-à-dire pour défendre ce gouvernement. Mais là, nous disons besoin de suivre ce body language, là, ça plan de incident qui finit là, les émeutes de vendredi et dans le courant de la semaine passée, les fin cause, reckless organizers, donc des gens qui n'ont aucun l'intérêt, donc à travers la violence de peut exprimer et ils lancent un appel au calme, c'est-à-dire au sens de responsabilité de tout un chacun et surtout pas les autres influencés par certains gens d'après lui qui peut empoisonner l'esprit.
Voilà donc pour le compte-rendu de cette PNQ. Merci à vous, Jagdish Joypal.
Merci, Priscilla. Donc, quand même, c'est une private notice question d'importance nationale parce que il permet nous. Et donc, il y a une conclusion, la situation, comment il était dans le pays, l'attitude du gouvernement et la prise de position de l'opposition vis-à-vis du conflit social.
Merci encore. Voilà, nous arrive à la fin donc pour le compte rendu de cette séance de PNQ. Merci vous suivez nous le Radio Plus et le défi média.info. À venir le flash de 13h donc tout à l'heure avec Douchila Mansing.